They're just humans. What could they possibly do, throw rocks at us? Commander Zyler's voice echoed across the dropship's comm channel, eliciting chuckles from his platoon. The Galactic Alliance's finest soldiers sat in perfect formation, their adaptive cloaks shimmering faintly under the ship's dim lights. The galaxy was embroiled in chaos. Planets burned, fleets clashed, and alliances frayed under the weight of war. The Galactic Alliance, an assembly of technologically superior species, had recently encountered humanity, a fledgling race from a small, unremarkable system. With crude projectile weapons and laughable technology, humans were dismissed as insignificant. Their sudden entry into the conflict was seen as little more than a nuisance. Commander Zyler's mission was simple: eliminate a human reconnaissance team reportedly operating in the dense jungles of Yara Prime. The humans had been using the terrain to disrupt supply lines, and command had grown tired of the inconvenience. Zyler addressed his troops again, his tone dripping with disdain. Camouflage? Is that what they're relying on? Primitive patterns painted on their uniforms? Pathetic. Our infrared scanners will pick them out like fireflies in the dark. But even as he spoke, whispers of unease crept through the comm chatter. Recent reports from other squads painted a different picture. Teams sent into similar environments had failed to report back. No distress signals, no wreckage, just silence. One soldier muttered, "Commander, what if the reports are true? What if they've got something we're not prepared for?" Zyler sneered. Nonsense. They're disorganized and weak. Follow orders, and you'll see how easily they fall. As the dropship breached the jungle canopy, the dense, shadowy expanse below swallowed the light. The soldiers readied their gear, unaware they were walking into the crosshairs of an unseen predator. The jungle swallowed them whole. Towering trees, their canopies intertwined, turned midday into a dim twilight. The air hung heavy with moisture, and an orchestra of alien wildlife created a cacophony of sounds, masking any movement. The Galactic soldiers advanced in a tight formation, their adaptive cloaks blending seamlessly with the vibrant greens and browns of their surroundings. Commander Zyler's voice crackled over their private channel. Maintain formation. Infrared scans every 30 seconds. They're here somewhere, probably hiding like the cowards they are. His words dripped with disdain, but his troops' unease was palpable. The jungle was alive, and they couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched. Private Lin AK, the squad's forward scout, glanced nervously at his scanner. The device's screen pulsed with static, the jungle's dense foliage interfering with its readings. He tapped it twice, frustrated. "Nothing but noise," he muttered. Just as he turned to report to the group, a sharp crack echoed through the trees. Lin AK froze, his head snapping forward. For a fleeting moment, he seemed to stand perfectly still, then crumpled to the ground. Chaos erupted. The platoon dove for cover, their adaptive cloaks shimmering erratically in their panic. Commander Zyler barked orders, his voice cutting through the rising tide of fear. "Find the shooter. Infrared scans, now." The soldiers activated their visors, switching to thermal imaging. The jungle lit up in shades of red and orange, but there was no sign of their attacker. The shot had come from somewhere beyond their reach, the source as invisible as a shadow in the void. Sergeant Vrax, a seasoned veteran, knelt beside Lin AK's body. A single, precise entry wound marred his helmet, the projectile lodged deep within his skull. Vrax glanced up, his voice low and grim. "This wasn't luck. Whoever did this is a professional." Zyler scoffed, though his tone betrayed a hint of unease. "One lucky shot doesn't make them a threat. Stay sharp and keep moving. They can't outrun us." The platoon pressed on, their formation tightening. The jungle seemed to close in around them, each step forward accompanied by the faint rustle of leaves or the snap of a twig. The oppressive silence that followed Lin AK's death gnawed at their nerves. Hours passed. Tensions mounted. Every soldier's eyes darted nervously across the landscape, searching for a threat they could neither see nor hear. As night fell, the jungle transformed into an even more alien and foreboding place. Shadows deepened, and the natural sounds of the environment grew louder, as if mocking their presence. Another shot rang out. This time, it came from the rear. Corporal Zay's cry of pain was cut short as he collapsed into the underbrush, his cloaking field flickering before fading entirely. Panic set in. The soldiers fanned out, their movements erratic and uncoordinated. Zyler's voice erupted in fury. "Stop scattering! You're playing right into their hands. Regroup!" But the sniper wasn't finished. A third shot whistled through the air, striking a communication node strapped to a soldier's back. Sparks flew as the device exploded, plunging the platoon into radio silence. The sniper's tactics were deliberate, surgical. Each shot wasn't just a kill, it was a message. The soldiers were no longer the hunters, they were the hunted. Zyler's confidence cracked. He paced frantically, barking orders that went unheard. His men huddled together, their cloaks now useless as fear made them careless. Sergeant Vrax approached Zyler, his expression grim. "Commander, this isn't a fight. It's a game, and we're the pieces being moved." Zyler glared at him, though his resolve faltered. "We're the Galactic Alliance's finest. We don't lose to primitive species." Vrax's voice lowered. "Tell that to Linne K and Zay." As the platoon trudged onward, the sniper watched from a concealed perch, unmoving. Every detail of the alien squad was logged and analyzed: patterns, weaknesses, blind spots. The sniper's patience was unshakable, their skill honed by years of training in terrains just like this one. The final act of the day was a single shot fired into a canister on a soldier's belt. The small explosion ignited a flare, bathing the jungle in a ghostly red glow. The sniper allowed the soldiers to see their own panic, their frantic glances, their trembling hands. Then, silence. Zyler stood frozen, the weight of the situation sinking in. The enemy was not only unseen, they were unstoppable. The jungle closed in around them once more, and the soldiers moved deeper into the shadows, unwittingly heading toward their doom. The platoon's cohesion unraveled with every step. The once pristine discipline of the Galactic Alliance's elite soldiers was reduced to survival instincts and frayed nerves. Each rustle of leaves, each distant call of alien fauna, sent the soldiers spinning in circles, weapons raised. Sergeant Vrax, trying to maintain order, kept his voice low but firm. "Eyes forward. Stick to the plan." Yet, even he knew the plan was an illusion. They had no strategy, no understanding of the terrain, and worst of all, no idea where the sniper lurked. Commander Zyler pushed to the front of the group, his face etched with frustration. "We're not prey," he hissed. "We are the hunters. Remember your training. Infrared scans. Sweep the perimeter. They can't hide forever." But as his words hung in the air, another shot cracked through the jungle. This time, the sniper didn't aim to kill but to terrorize. The bullet struck a tree trunk inches from a soldier's head, showering him in splinters. The soldier stumbled back, tripping over a root, his adaptive cloak flickering like a broken hologram. "They're toying with us," he screamed, his voice cracking. Zyler rounded on him, his voice a razor's edge. "Pull yourself together, or I'll leave you for them." But his threats rang hollow. Everyone could see it, the cracks in their commander's facade. The platoon pressed on, their progress slowed by the oppressive jungle and their mounting paranoia. The sniper watched from above, perched high in the canopy, their camouflage so flawless they seemed a part of the forest itself. Every movement was calculated, every breath controlled. Patience was their greatest weapon. The sniper had already learned their patterns. Galactic soldiers, for all their technology, relied too heavily on their equipment. Their infrared visors were useless in the heat-drenched jungle, where every surface radiated warmth. Their cloaks, designed for urban combat, faltered against the organic chaos of Yara Prime. And now, their morale was breaking. The sniper didn't need to shoot to inflict damage. Instead, they began a psychological assault. A bullet struck a rock, ricocheting harmlessly but echoing like a thunderclap. Another round hit the base of a tree, sending birds scattering into the sky. Each shot forced the soldiers to dive for cover, sapping their energy and resolve. "We need to hold position," Vrax finally shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Xyler whirled on him, eyes blazing. Hold position? So they can pick us off one by one? Keep moving. We need to outflank them. But Vrax stood his ground. And walk into another ambush? Look at them, Commander. He gestured to the platoon, their faces pale, their movements erratic. They're breaking. You keep pushing like this, and we'll be dead before sunrise. Xyler's lips tightened, but he said nothing. The silence was answer enough. The sniper took note of the exchange, their scope trained on the group. They could take another shot, eliminate the commander, perhaps, but that would be too quick, too simple. No, the goal was control. The soldiers had to feel the weight of their helplessness, to understand they were no longer predators. As the group argued, the sniper struck again. This time, a bullet shattered a water canister strapped to a soldier's back, spilling its precious contents into the thirsty soil. No, the soldier cried, clutching at the ruined container as though it were his lifeline. We're being bled dry, Vrax muttered under his breath. By nightfall, exhaustion claimed them. Xyler begrudgingly allowed the platoon to stop and set up a rudimentary camp. The soldiers huddled in a circle, their backs to one another, their weapons trained on the darkness. The jungle's noises grew louder, as if emboldened by their fear. Vrax sat close to the fire, though its feeble light did little to dispel the shadows. He stared into the flames, his mind churning. This isn't a human, he said finally, breaking the tense silence. It's something else. Something unrelenting. Xyler scoffed, though his voice lacked its usual conviction. Don't be ridiculous. It's one soldier. One. We outnumber them 20-1. Vrax's eyes met his. And yet they've already won. The words hung in the air, heavy with truth. As the soldiers tried to rest, the sniper moved silently through the trees, planting small traps around the camp tripwires that would snap branches or topple loose rocks. Each trap was carefully placed, designed not to harm but to unnerve. Hours later, as the soldiers attempted to sleep, the first trap triggered. A loud crack echoed through the jungle, jolting everyone awake. They're here, someone shouted, firing wildly into the darkness. But there was nothing there. Just shadows. One by one, the traps activated, each sound pulling the soldiers closer to the edge of panic. By dawn, they were hollow-eyed and jittery, their weapons trembling in their hands. The sniper watched it all from afar, their expression unreadable beneath their ghillie hood. This was the turning point. The soldiers were no longer a cohesive unit. They were prey, floundering in the face of an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't predict, couldn't escape. As the sun rose, the sniper adjusted their scope, preparing for the final phase of the hunt. The jungle, once their ally, now felt like a cage to the Galactic soldiers. And the predator was closing in. The jungle was no longer a battlefield, it was a crucible, testing the Galactic soldiers' endurance against an unseen enemy. Their arrogance had shattered, replaced by desperation and distrust. Every shadow was an ambush, every rustle a death knell. Commander Xyler's once confident leadership had dissolved into silence, his authority undermined by the sniper's relentless psychological warfare. The soldiers huddled together, too afraid to separate, their advanced training reduced to primal instincts. The oppressive heat and suffocating humidity weighed on them, but it was the silence that broke their resolve. The sniper had not fired a single shot in hours, but that absence was more terrifying than the sound of gunfire. Vrax crouched near Xyler, his voice a whisper. We need to retreat, regroup. This isn't a fight we can win. Xyler's eyes burned with indignation. Retreat? Against one primitive? Do you hear yourself? Vrax's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He didn't need to. The truth was evident in every pale face, every trembling hand. The Galactic soldiers weren't just losing, they were unraveling. The sniper observed this disarray from a perch high in the canopy, their breath steady, their heartbeat a metronome of focus. They had studied their quarry, mapped their weaknesses, and now it was time to strike. Patience had brought them here, but precision would finish the job. Carefully, the sniper aimed at a cluster of vines stretched taut between two trees. A single shot severed the vines, releasing a weighted net that dropped onto the soldiers below. The camp exploded into chaos. Soldiers screamed, firing wildly into the jungle. The net had ensnared 2 of them, pinning them to the ground, their adaptive cloaks useless against the entangling fibers. Xyler roared above the chaos. "Form up! Cover the perimeter!" But his orders were drowned out by panic. Another trap activated, a branch snapped, swinging down to knock a soldier off his feet. The sniper moved quickly now, darting between cover and firing strategically. Each shot wasn't just an attack, it was a message. The first bullet destroyed their last remaining water canister, spilling its contents into the dirt. The second shattered the communications relay, cutting off any hope of calling for reinforcements. The third struck Xyler's weapon, shattering it in his hands. The commander stumbled back, clutching the useless hilt of his rifle. His composure, already fragile, crumbled. "This is impossible. They're not human, they're a ghost." Vrax grabbed Xyler by the shoulders, shaking him. "Pull it together, or we're dead. We need a plan." Xyler shoved him away, his eyes wild. "There's no plan. There's only survival." He turned and bolted into the jungle, abandoning his platoon. The remaining soldiers watched in stunned silence as their commander disappeared into the foliage. Vrax gritted his teeth, turning to the others. "We're not dying here. Stay close, and keep moving. We'll find a way out of this." But the sniper had anticipated their desperation. As the soldiers moved through the jungle, traps awaited them at every turn. Spikes concealed in the underbrush punctured their boots. Tripwires triggered flash grenades that blinded and disoriented them. The platoon's numbers dwindled with each encounter. Some fell to traps, others to expertly placed shots. The sniper never revealed themselves, always striking from a distance, their camouflage rendering them invisible in the dense foliage. Vrax and the few remaining soldiers stumbled into a clearing, their breaths ragged, their bodies battered. The open space offered no cover, but they had no choice. They collapsed to the ground, exhausted and broken. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a voice crackled over their comms, Xyler's voice. "Help, they're everywhere. I can't." The transmission ended abruptly, followed by a single gunshot. Vrax clenched his fists, his face grim. "We're out of time. We stand here, or we die running." The soldiers nodded weakly, raising their weapons. But even as they prepared for a last stand, the sniper was already in position. High above, hidden in the canopy, the sniper adjusted their aim. The clearing was a kill zone, a trap in itself. Each soldier was exposed, their movements predictable. The sniper exhaled slowly, their finger tightening on the trigger. The first shot struck a soldier square in the chest, the force knocking him backward. The second hit another in the leg, crippling him. The third, Vrax's shoulder, spun him to the ground. Vrax gasped in pain, clutching the wound, but he didn't cry out. He raised his head, staring into the trees. "Show yourself," he shouted, defiance flickering in his voice. For the first time, the sniper responded. A figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the clearing with calculated precision. Their ghillie suits seemed to dissolve into the jungle, revealing a face painted in earthy tones, their eyes sharp and unwavering. The remaining soldiers froze, their weapons shaking in their hands. The sniper didn't speak. They didn't need to. Their silence was an answer, a testament to their dominance. Vrax's expression shifted from anger to something else, understanding. "It was never about technology," he muttered, his voice hoarse. "It was you. Your patience. Your mastery." The sniper's lips twitched in the faintest hint of a smile. Then, without a word, they raised their weapon again. The jungle reclaimed its silence, leaving no trace of the Galactic soldiers or their arrogant commander. The galaxy would learn of this battle, not through survivors, but through the chilling absence of any who dared to underestimate humanity again. The galaxy was no stranger to tales of war, but the story of the jungle platoon's demise swept through the Galactic Alliance like wildfire. Broadcasts avoided explicit details, focusing instead on vague warnings of a tactical failure, but the whispers among military circles told the truth: the platoon had been annihilated. Not a single soldier returned to report what happened. At first, disbelief reigned. How could a technologically advanced squad, equipped with cutting-edge weaponry and adaptive cloaking, be wiped out by primitive humans? Yet the grim facts were undeniable. The remains of the platoon's camp, abandoned weapons, shattered gear, and the eerie silence of their comm devices were recovered, but no bodies were found. The absence of physical evidence added an air of mystique to the event, fueling rumors and speculation. Military analysts dissected the mission, searching for answers. Reports of traps, impossibly precise sniper fire, and psychological warfare emerged. The aliens scoffed no longer. Human warfare was no longer seen as rudimentary but as a terrifying art form, wielded by masters who could blend into shadows and strike with surgical precision. In the jungle's aftermath, humanity's reputation shifted. They were no longer just a new player on the galactic stage, they were a force to be feared. High in the canopy of a distant jungle, the sniper rested against the trunk of a tree, their rifle cradled across their lap. They pulled out a weathered datapad and began typing. Log entry: mission success. Target neutralization confirmed. Observations: the Galactic Alliance relies too heavily on technology, leaving them vulnerable to tactics that exploit their arrogance. They underestimated us, dismissed us as primitive. That was their first mistake. The sniper paused, gazing out over the jungle, the faint glow of stars visible through the gaps in the canopy. Adaptability is our strength. Their advanced tech means nothing if they cannot see us coming. This was just one battle, but it won't be the last. They will learn, or they will fall. The sniper ended the log with a single phrase. We are hunters. They are prey. The jungle returned to its quiet hum, but the echoes of the sniper's victory reverberated across the galaxy. Humanity, though lacking in the technological prowess of its alien counterparts, had proven to be unparalleled in the art of war. The Galactic Alliance had learned a costly lesson: arrogance on the battlefield was a weakness. The humans were not to be dismissed. They were hunters, masters of terrain and patience, capable of turning any battlefield into their domain. And as rumors of other encounters began to surface, one truth became evident: where shadows danced and silence reigned, there might be a human sniper watching, waiting, and ready to strike.